Moving on from where we left off with data protection and cryptography, we will move on to monitoring, vulnerability, and patch management. The systems manager will monitor the network and set up monitoring tools to ensure traffic is normal. If the budget allows, a subordinate systems employee will be hired to help the manager with all the tasks at hand, including logical security. An intrusion prevention system will be installed to help the manager be aware of any malicious behavior happening on the network or the potential of a breach. Updates and patches will be managed by the systems manager and be run automatically during non-business hours. This means an employee cannot push off an update or patch. Patch management and updates can help vulnerabilities immediately. This is why a subordinate systems employee would be helpful. Staying on top of updates alone can be a large and necessary task. Physical monitoring will take place in the form of cameras. They will be placed around the perimeter, near important doors, and overlooking office and manufacturing space. This will give management the eyes they need to make sure all behavior is normal. When it comes time for an audit, tapes can be reviewed to make sure behavior is up to policy and code. The next section we will move on to is high availability and disaster recovery. High availability is what allows the employees to access the information easily and quickly. The individual credentials will ensure the employee that they are accessing their own information and they will not have to filter through other people's work to access their own. The newly installed switches will help information to move quickly across the network, keeping it accessible for all employees. 7 access points will keep the internet moving quickly, which means no wasted time waiting for something to load. Disaster recovery is a little bit separate from high availability, but it does have to do with keeping information accessible. The disaster recovery and incident response plans will be designed by the systems manager and department heads. The plan will try to keep business as operational as possible in the scenario of different disasters. One key part of this plan is information backups in case something does happen, one or all of the servers. Backup server space will be purchased through a third party and take place off-site. This will keep data preserved even if there is physical damage to the current servers and server location. Additionally, there will be a disaster drill annually to make sure all the details are planned out. Because physical protection is such a large part of security, it has its own section here. A new fence will be installed around the property with a gate which will be closed and locked during non-business hours. This will give you control of who enters the premises and when. As mentioned before, there will be a multitude of security cameras to make sure the important parts of the facility are all visible. All doors of the facility, with the exception of the main entrance, will automatically lock and can only be opened by a badge. Also, it will be against policy to prop any doors open. Security cameras can help catch any employees doing so. Manufacturing employees will also be given fans to help with the heat instead of leaving doors open. New vents can be installed on the walls and the roof of the building to help airflow and keep employees happy. The servers may remain in the room, which they are currently, but a new door and lock will be installed. If there are any windows, they will be filled in with drywall. The only employees that have access to this room are the systems manager and his or her subordinate. This room will also have a separate thermostat as servers produce a lot of heat and they need to be kept cool in order to remain operational. Lastly, a new switch cabinet which will be installed in the manufacturing warehouse. This cabinet will be built to be secure and lockable. The only access will again be to the systems manager and their subordinate. With a fence and locked gate, I do not see a need for a security night guard at this time. With these changes, that wraps up physical protection at this time. Policy audits and training. Policy is not something to be overlooked. A new policy can ensure certain standards are being met. All employees must be on board for security to work. First, there will be a number of logical security policies. An employee will only use their work devices for work purposes. This includes email and browsing websites. Passwords are not to be shared or written down in a public manner. Rather, teach employees techniques to remembering passwords that are created. Devices shall be locked when an employee steps away from their workstation to make sure that they are the only ones working under their own credentials. Devices shall be powered off nightly to keep them running smoothly and allow for updates to happen. Additionally, if an employee suspects suspicious behavior on their device or network, it shall be reported to their manager immediately. There will also be physical security policies. Basic lockup procedures such as ensuring doors are locked, windows are shut and locked, making sure no one is remaining in the building, and the gate is shut and locked by the last one out. As mentioned before, doors will not be allowed to be propped open, and all guests must be checked in the front. These are additional physical policies. Any new policies can be added and discussed with employees on an as-needed basis. A security audit will be performed on an annual basis to discover risks, vulnerabilities, remediation, and action plans. The audit will be spearheaded by the systems manager, but will require the cooperation of department heads and ultimately every single employee. These audits will reveal areas of the business that are secure and areas that may need improvement. The information will then be presented to decision makers and changes can be decided on. Last, but an extremely important part to the security update is that security training must take place upon hire with additional yearly trainings for all employees. This can ensure that employees understand security risks, how their role may defend against them, and make sure all security policies are fresh in everyone's minds. If some sort of breach or attack comes to light after it is stopped, it is important to hold a small training with employees to go over why something happened. In some cases, this may remain simple as a reminder not to open attachments from an unknown sender. There is no denying that this is a lot of information and a lot of requests for changes within your company. However, all these security recommendations have been designed with improving physical and logical security in order to have a solid defense plan and protect Thompson Motion Manufacturing. There will need to be financial investments for these recommendations to take root, but it will secure the company and all the information that makes the company what it is.